Hi, you're watching Career Builder TV. I'm Matt Moran. This is episode 3. Today we're going to take a quick look at consulting. I had a couple questions. One particularly came via email this weekend, and the question was basically, how do I get started in consulting? So I want to give you 3 things you need to do if you're thinking about starting a technology consulting business or career. And these aren't the only 3 things. These are just 3 things you need to think about. So and then I'm going to give you some ideas of some things that you probably don't need to worry about that you might be. The first is, well, let's cover all 3. First, you're going to need clients. I know it sounds obvious, but we'll explain what I mean by that in more detail. Second, you need to have 1 to 3 high-value services you provide, things you're very comfortable with doing, and we'll talk about that as well. And then number 3, you need to set your price and not apologize about it. So let's discuss those just briefly. Clients. What I mean by that is, if you can, while you're still working, start to do some really minor consulting on the side. Learn a little bit about how the process works, how you go about invoicing, how you go about dealing with client demands. And these can be really low-stress clients. It can be, friends, family. You can charge a lower price. Just get your feet in the water. And there's a couple reasons for doing this. One is you get used to the process. But 2, it can really lead to some valuable referrals down the road and can form the basis for an income that will allow you to eventually leave the job you're currently at. So it's just something to think about. So it's not really counterintuitive. You want to start with clients before you officially launch your business. And officially launching, I mean going full-time. I did work for several local companies while I was still working at my employer in 1995, started in 92, and for 3 years just had some small clients, things here and there on the side, which eventually led to full-time consulting income. So that's how I started, and I truly recommend that. Then 1 to 3 high-value services you offer. So this is an important one. A lot of times computer consultants really want to cover the full gamut of services, all things that they've done, and there are many of you that do a lot of things. But pick 1 to 3 things, because it's really hard to describe, or for other people to describe what you do if you do everything. It's a lot easier to have 1 to 3 things that are really high value that get you in the door. You can always upsell those other services, you can get referrals into those other services, but it makes helping you and others explain what you do a lot simpler. Last is set your price and don't apologize for it. And this is an important one, because consultants are always worried about, what if I quote the wrong price? What if there's somebody who can do it cheaper? The fact is, they do. And the fact is, you will. You're going to charge the wrong price at times. That's okay. You're going to, particularly for the project. I won't say the wrong price, perhaps the wrong price for that client. You'll have to refer back to our first or second episode, How Valuable is Your Value? Because there are some clients that just aren't going to pay a particular rate. And you're better off finding a rate that you're comfortable with, that's going to take care of the needs that you have and allow you to put something away, but also not allow you to take on work that isn't really to your benefit. You don't want to be just compromising price all the time. Now, on the flip side, there are some things you can do to compromise price if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to. Those can be rapid payments. Cash flow is always an issue. It's a primary concern, so if people can pay a portion of projects up front, that's a great thing to do. If people can pay quickly, at the time you complete the project, you don't want to go through a 30 or 45-day billing cycle. And while many accounting departments might say, well, that's just our standard, I promise you, I've worked with very large companies that have compromised on that, both on the price issue and just simply on me talking to the accounting and saying, well, I can't take on the project if that's the case. I can't take on a project with a 30-plus 45-day billable, so we got to do something. And longer-term engagements, another way that you can compromise a little bit on price. Let your clients let you know if it's too high. Don't give them a price and then start apologizing or backtracking and saying, but there are things we can do to lower it. Just give your price. If you're going to charge $90 an hour and they say, what's your rate? Say $90 an hour. If you're going to charge $50 an hour, say $50 an hour. They'll tell you if it's too high. They'll say, that's really more than we wanted to spend. And you might just ask them what you wanted to spend. And we'll do another segment on the sales cycle and the sales process. And I'm not a sales trainer, but I'll just tell you the things I do, things that have worked for me. And when you offer a discount, when you do provide that to the client, make sure you let them know this is not typical. You're doing this on a special occasion. You're doing this because they've been a valued client. You do this because you see the nature of the work or the long-term engagement. But also let them know. Say, please, when you offer a referral, when you let other people know about the great things we're doing for you, please do not let them know the discount I've given you. Because this is really kind of a one-time thing. This is not the norm. And you don't want them referring you to clients who are immediately coming in with a lowered price expectation. So those are kind of the three things. So clients, starting with clients is always good. 1 to 3 high-value services rather than offering everything, and then set your price and don't apologize for it. So now some things that you don't need, because consultants often get sidetracked, or technologists, or really anybody entering consulting fields get sidetracked with things they think they might need but really don't need. And those things are an expensive set of print material, glossy 4-color, fold-out brochures of all the services you provide are not necessary. A simple plain paper resume or list of services will suffice to get you started, I promise you. I remember having coffee or dinner with some friends when I first kicked off my consulting, and I sat with them and said, hey, let's start consulting together. And they said, well, we need all these things. They started listing them out. And I said, no, you can win business. And I showed them a plain paper flyer. And one of them said to me, and he's a good friend, he said, I would never hire you on that. And I said, well, then I guess I wouldn't work for you. And it was really that simple. Now later on, I went on to get some really nice 4-color brochure, glossy, professionally designed. They were slick. But our rate of sales really didn't increase through that. So I just want you to keep a temperate and shoestring budget when you kick this off. You can do that with consulting. You don't need a super slick website. You need a neat website. That's fine. You need to have a neat, clean, clear place that people can find out what you do on the web. But you don't need a super slick, images floating around, graphical appeal website to be able to get business. People have to know what you do and be able to get in touch with you. That's the most critical element. I always recommend WordPress. We'll talk about that more on a later episode. You don't need an advertising budget. You really don't. You don't need to be in the yellow pages. You don't need to be taking out ads. You need to be getting your name out there directly to people. That's the most critical thing you can do. And you don't need expensive office space. Operate on a shoestring. Operate with what you have to get started. I promise you it will be enough. Now, I hope you find these tips valuable. Please let me know. Leave comments or questions on the website, on either Toolbox website where I'll publish this video, or on the cbtoolkit.com website. Let me know what you agree with, what you don't. If you have a particular question, we'd love to hear from you. And also understand, we're going to be doing some exciting things regarding consulting. We're going to have some great materials up there, some sample proposals and some other things. So look to that and let other people know. Thanks.